Nintendo has not said one word about Mario Kart World DLC so far, but I would be shocked if they did not support the latest game in one of their biggest franchises with downloadable content at some point. I mean, just look at the amount of DLC that was added to the last Mario Kart game, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The question is, what would this DLC look like? Well, the DLC would likely tie into free roam in some way and include new characters and character costumes. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see what those aspects of the free roam might look like, but for today we're going to focus on the tracks. But I will talk briefly about my free roam idea, just because I tie this idea into some of my track picks later in the video. So I think the DLC should be a brand new free roam area in the form of an island, and you can access this island by a pipe. It would be similar to the world map in the base game, but this time there should be more effort put into bringing the free roam experience to life, and making the intermission tracks feel like actual segmented tracks with more turns, shortcuts, secret routes, jumps, and rails that actually matter, and less like driving in a straight line. Now, to get back to the focus of the video, which is the new 3-lap tracks, let's say that the new DLC island would consist of 8 Grand Prix Cups, just like the base game, but with no repeated tracks this time, meaning there would be 32 new tracks. Let's also say that each Grand Prix would consist of 3 retro tracks and 1 original track, for a total of 24 retro tracks and 8 brand new tracks. I won't attempt to predict the 8 brand new tracks because they could be anything, but here are the top 24 retro tracks that I most want to see in Mario Kart World DLC. Starting with number 24, Piranha Plant Pipeline. Now, if there was one track on this list that you may have never heard of before, it could be this first one, Piranha Plant Pipeline. This track is the only remaining Mario Kart Tour exclusive track, meaning it's the only original track from Mario Kart Tour that was not included in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC. Not only that, but even if you try to play it in Mario Kart Tour, it's only available during the 2-week-long tour period, which usually happens sometime in July, meaning you can only play this track 2 weeks out of the year right now. But this track has awesome music, and driving through the pipes is such a cool concept. I think it's executed better here than on other pipe tracks like Piranha Plant Slide, because in this one, the entire track is a series of narrower, connected pipes, which make it feel even more like you're exploring the actual pipes. I especially like this part where you choose which pipe you want to take after the glider, and each path is completely different. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, Waluigi Pinball is ranked lower than you might expect because although it is a fan favorite and I do like it, I don't like it as much as most people seem to like it. The things I do love about this track are the concept of the track being a pinball machine, the atmosphere and the look of it all, and the music. However, the track itself doesn't have much variety in it like shortcuts or other alternate routes. The section near the end with the pinballs bouncing around it is really cool, but you mostly just drive in a straight line to try and get through it. So I hope if Waluigi Pinball makes the Mario Kart World DLC, they'd be able to add some new features, such as additional paths and rails to add a bit more to this track. Okay, stay with me here, and picture this. You're in free roam exploring the island from the new DLC and you drive into the ocean. Rather than an empty ocean with the occasional empty island or small boat like in the base game, you see a massive cruise ship off on the horizon. As you get closer to it, you discover that you can actually board the ship and drive through the Daisy Cruiser we know and love. I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds pretty awesome. To build off the Daisy Cruiser idea, imagine you're exploring that ship in free roam, you get to the very top of it, and then you can launch yourself off a giant glider ramp that sends you soaring over the ocean towards the beautiful coastline, where you see a coastal town getting increasingly closer. You land on the pier and lo and behold, you're now driving into the heart of the charming Delfino Square, where you can explore the bustling marketplace and navigate the narrow canals, and Pianta can be reunited with his friends. An updated version of this track added to Mario Kart World would be incredible, bringing that Super Mario Sunshine feel to modern day graphics. Although I did find that this track on the DS didn't feel as much like Super Mario Sunshine as I would like, so hopefully they're able to enhance that Super Mario Sunshine feel in the DLC, as they let us cut through the alley shortcut and jump across the giant drawbridge once again. Maybe adding Cheep Cheep Island would result in too many beach tracks, since we already have Koopa Troopa Beach and Peach Beach. But Koopa Troopa Beach is a circle, and Peach Beach sort of just feels like a fancier version of an intermission track. So maybe you would also welcome the addition of Cheep Cheep Island, which has only been released again on Mario Kart Tour. Although I haven't played much Mario Kart Tour, the track looks so good with the improved graphics, and it also looks like a track that would have more to it than the beach tracks currently in Mario Kart World, as you could rail grind on the fence along this turn and on the pier. And maybe there'd be opportunities for new shortcuts as well, like a tree bounce to skip this turn. However, the tour version is shorter than the original, so I really hope Nintendo would give us the full version of the track from Super Circuit. Here's another track that is long overdue for a glow up, as it hasn't been remade in any mainline Mario Kart titles since its debut in Mario Kart 7, although it was also playable in Mario Kart Tour. This track is so picturesque as you race through a bright rolling countryside with lush green pastures, colorful wildflowers, and those nice little white stone buildings in the town. I could see them adding a shortcut over this grassy section where maybe you'd left trick off the rail and they'd put a tree that you could trick off of or a wall you could ride to cut this corner. And I'd also like to see them add some rails here as alternate paths you can take instead of the glider, kind of like how they did on Sky High Sundae. Those rails could actually be ropes that are attached to the hot air balloons, which are a standout feature of this track. Yoshi Circuit is such a fun track. I love how the map is shaped like the outline of Yoshi, and yet somehow still works so well. And that shortcut through the waterfall never gets old. This is known as a huge bagging track, and if it gets brought back in Mario Kart World, I really don't see that changing. Because in order for the track to be shaped like Yoshi, it needs to have a lot of sharp turns, which provides so many opportunities to cut corners. But adding a few bagging tracks to the game isn't necessarily a bad thing, if you're okay with some crazy shenanigans going on once in a while, especially when said bagging track is as fun to drive as this one. Speaking of bagging tracks, Cheese Land has become a classic one in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, resulting in many of the wildest finishes to races that you probably experienced in your time playing that game. Though I hope if they bring it back, they design it more similarly to the Game Boy Advance version of the track, where not only did it truly feel like the track was made of cheese, but it was essentially an entire cheese planet, complete with moon-like cheese craters and everything. It even had little mice running around, which would be neat to see again. But in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version, it looked and felt more like a desert track or something, although driving it was still always a good time. As just like Yoshi's Circuit, it's filled with so many opportunities to cut big parts of the track. Hopefully we'd see the Mario Kart World version bring the track's art style back to its roots. And it may seem like the look of it wouldn't fit into Mario Kart World's open world, but the base game already has some weird looking tracks, like Sky High Sundae where you approach it and suddenly there's just ice cream everywhere. So really, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to imagine that you're approaching this track on the DLC island and you find that everything is made of cheese. It probably couldn't be an actual planet again though. One thing that is so fun to do on Lakeside Park in Super Circuit is hitting the boost panel here before this big jump and aiming to the left to land further down the track, and doing that again in Mario Kart World would be a blast. Maybe they'd even have one of those trees that we see along the side of this track in just the right spot where you can tree bounce off of it after that big jump and extend your airtime. It would also be neat to have this track in Mario Kart World Free Roam when you look at that cool volcanic background it has, and you realize that since it's open world, you can actually drive there and explore those volcanoes. It's actually such a cool area for free roam, since volcano areas in these video games are usually just dead and full of rock, but this one is a lush lake area right next to the volcanoes. The contrast between the beautiful serene lake and the menacing active volcano is what makes this track so memorable for me. And I'd love to see this one get a proper remake in Mario Kart World, since the only time we've seen it since its debut in Super Circuit was in Mario Kart Tour, which just isn't the same. Waluigi Stadium is just one of those tracks where it just slaps every time it is in a Mario Kart game, whether it's the original in Double Dash or the versions in Wii and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that added the half pipe. This track just completely nails the exhilarating extreme sports atmosphere right out of the gate. It has all of the creative obstacles, the massive mud pits, the flaming rings you have to jump through, and I do like the addition of the huge half pipe. I definitely want them to keep that in Mario Kart World. Waluigi Stadium has this wacky, chaotic energy that perfectly fits Waluigi's character, and that makes it feel like an authentic experience that is well suited to be included in yet another Mario Kart game. Is Maple Treeway too similar to Acorn Heights for Nintendo to add it to the game? I sure hope not. And come on, it may also be tree themed, but it takes place in autumn. That's totally different, right? All I know is if they leave this track out of the DLC, we'd all be missing out on a beautiful track where you race along the winding pathways suspended high up in the massive orange and red canopy of a forest, as we find ourselves often flying across the forest thanks to the cannon, half pipe, and various other jumps. I'd even be happy to see those huge wigglers aimlessly wandering around the track again, even when they annoyingly decide to stop walking right where I need to go. Bringing Maple Treeway's cozy fall atmosphere to a part of the DLC island for us to explore in free roam would be a welcome addition. At number 13, we have DK Jungle from Mario Kart 7. This track perfectly captures the vibrant, rhythmic, and danger-filled aesthetic of Donkey Kong Country Returns. This track has everything. You blast through ancient jungle ruins, dodge tiki enemies, and bounce off of giant bouncing flowers. The music masterfully rearranges the Donkey Kong Country Returns theme, and we can't forget the legendary Golden Banana. Imagine if we had some hanging vines on this track that you can rail grind across for new optional pathways. And in free roam, this track should be the centerpiece of an entire brand new jungle section of DLC Island, full of Easter eggs and areas based on some of the levels from the Donkey Kong series, like further exploration of the temple, mine carting areas, and caves. Perhaps you could even find King K. Rool's lair in free roam, which may not be as far-fetched as it seems when you consider that K. Rool and Void Kong voice actors are already listed in Mario Kart World's credits, even though neither of them voiced anyone in the base game. making them potential new characters who would fit in well with a new DK jungle-themed free roam area. Number 12 is a classic, N64 Bowser's Castle, which surprisingly was only brought back once for Mario Kart Wii, so we are due to bring this fantastic track back once more. Even though previous Mario Kart games had multiple Bowser's Castle tracks, it might be less likely that they will do this in Mario Kart World, since it would be kind of weird if Bowser had multiple castles in the open world, so this one might be a bit of a reach, unless there's some new lore about Bowser becoming some sort of a real estate mogul. But maybe putting this on a separate DLC island could make adding one more Bowser's Castle a bit less weird, and hopefully that happens because this track manages to create an eerie, unsettling atmosphere that no other course in the series has matched. It's the haunting music, the sickly, crispy looking lava glowing in the gloom and shooting up at you, and the huge portraits of Bowser that, despite looking pretty goofy, will communicate to you, you are trespassing. I love how this track allows you to drive through so much of the outside and the inside of the castle, with plenty of sharp turns and opportunities to fall off. The way the thwomps move in unpredictable, unique patterns here makes for a tricky obstacle to avoid, and the whole course feels less like a racetrack and more like a dangerous, winding escape route from Bowser's Castle. But of course, we must talk about the most terrifying element of all, the thwomp locked in jail, also known as Marty. What horrific cosmic level atrocities must a massive hunk of rock have committed to be imprisoned by Bowser? Or maybe he's innocent and deserves to be freed. It adds a layer of unexplained lore that I demand answers to. Free Marty! Surely I'm not the only one who thinks that Wild Woods is underrated, right? Right? I mean, just look at it. This track looks absolutely stunning. When it first dropped in Mario Kart 8, it looked stunning, and it still holds up to this day. You have this massive dark green woods with sunlight peeking through the trees and multiple pathways here to choose from that lead you inside of a giant tree where you can see so many levels and bridges connecting houses in this village within the tree, which honestly is the biggest reason why I'd love to see this track added to Mario Kart World DLC, because I can't help but imagine how cool it would be to explore this village. When you drive off this glider in free roam, instead of only landing on the track, you could glide pretty much anywhere in this tree and finally be able to visit and hopefully even drive inside all of these little houses and drive between them along the bridges. It would be so fun to do that after all these years. Ribbon Road has always been a fun, challenging course, whether it was in Super Circuit with its cool theme of racing on a ribbon surrounded by presents, or with its other unique theme in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that makes it feel like it's right out of Toy Story or something, as you race on a toy set among giant toys like the Koopa Clown Car Jack in the Boxes that pop up to act as hazards. This toy room version is the one that I'd actually prefer in Mario Kart World, but how could they fit this awesome track into Mario Kart World's open world when you are miniature sized and you're racing on a toy track? Well, one thing that disappointed me in Mario Kart World is that you see all these awesome looking buildings like the ones in Crown City, for example, but you can't actually drive into them and explore them. The DLC should change this with a variety of buildings that you can drive right into. And in this case, the building would be a house. You would drive through the garage or the back door or something, and it would have a pipe or some sort of magic light that shrinks you down to a miniature size. From there, you could enter into the rest of the house and explore the house at the smaller size, and even go into a toy room where you discover Ribbon Road. Building off of that idea from the last one, let's say you finish driving around Ribbon Road in the toy room, and you exit the room, cross the hall into the bathroom, and now you found another banger track, Squeaky Clean Sprint, for 2 tracks in one house. Maybe we could even come up with 2 more room-themed tracks and have a whole Grand Prix in there. When I first saw this track, I was so surprised, because it just felt so random. Is there some sort of Mario bathroom lore that I'm not aware of? Or did Nintendo just randomly decide this was a good idea? The craziest part is that they were right. This was a good idea. This weird concept for a course ended up becoming a fan favorite. It's obvious they put a lot of thought and effort into this one, with so many cool bathroom-themed elements all around the track, some fun shortcuts, and multiple alternate routes. This one would be a blast to play in Mario Kart World. There are 2 things that make Mushroom Gorge the legendary track that it is, and both of these must be included if the track is brought back in Mario Kart World. The first, which would obviously be included, is bouncing across the mushrooms, trying your best to get the alignment just right so you don't accidentally fall off, which would actually be easier to do in Mario Kart World with the directional tricks to save you. The second thing is the iconic gap jump shortcut near the end of the lap, which always feels so rewarding when you pull it off. Those 2 unique original aspects of this track, along with the rest of its fun layout and its memorable music, secure its spot as one of the all-time greats. This track is basically a love letter to Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, which was an incredibly creative and charming game, and they nailed that atmosphere perfectly with this track. When the race starts, the visual style is the first thing that you notice. The course perfectly translates the original game's iconic hand-drawn art style into 3D, which would make it look unlike any other course in Mario Kart World. The bright colors, the unique enemies, it all just pops. This art style may make it less likely for the track to be added, since it won't match the rest of the open world very well, but Yoshi is already in the game, and the experience of driving toward Yoshi's Island in free roam and seeing the art style start to change to a more cartoony style for that section of the map would actually be really cool. I love how the coins on the track are modeled after the Yoshi coins from the original game. Enemies like the Stilt Guys and Huffin' Puffins are actually placed as obstacles on the course. And the music, oh man, the music. It's a triumphant, happy, orchestral arrangement of the classic athletic theme that brings nostalgia and just makes you smile. The coolest part of the track though is near the end, where you can hit a winged cloud to make a red bridge appear that lets you take a sharper turn on that new path. In Mario Kart World, they could expand that part into a free roam element. Maybe activating that winged cloud in the free roam area temporarily reveals a new hidden path that takes you to Yoshi's house for a minigame or to a secret challenge in the clouds. There are so many awesome elements of the Koopa Cape track. For starters, the winding rivers alongside the cliffs, which provide a current that boosts your speed, encouraging you to follow the curving path to keep your speed high. Unless you want to take some of the shortcuts across the grass instead, and just skip some of the river turns entirely. This part looks beautiful, but then you hit an even cooler part of the track, driving down the waterfall and into that long, transparent underwater pipe. The music transitions to a more muffled sound as you dodge the electric obstacles while still following the current for maximum speed before you jump out of the pipe, back onto the track. This track gives you a sense of wonder, especially in the underwater pipe section that makes you feel like you're in one of those huge, mesmerizing walk-through aquariums or something. In free roam, they could expand the underwater pipe section to have even more paths branching off of it, with secret exits that launch you out to different parts of the map. And now we've reached the best of the best, the top 5, starting with the one that I know a lot of you consider to be your all-time favorite, Coconut Mall. Where do I begin with Coconut Mall? This is peak nostalgia for a lot of us from the Wii era. No other track can match that feeling of driving through the bright, bustling shopping mall as you cut through this shop, ride the escalators, jump over fountains, and you even perform a death-defying jump before you have to avoid very bad drivers in the parking lot, all while that fun, classic song plays in the background. As I mentioned before, I would love for the new DLC to allow us to drive into buildings, and what building would be cooler to experience this with than Coconut Mall? You could drive into this city area of the new DLC, see a bright shopping mall that stands out from the other buildings, drive through its parking lot into the entrance, and discover that you're now exploring Coconut Mall, and it has even more shops you can drive into than before. Perhaps they could even add more features to it like a food court or an arcade, or even allow us to drive up to the very top of the rooftop of the mall. The possibilities are endless with this one. Hear me out, hear me out. I know, Mario Kart World has a Rainbow Road track already. I know, it's 4 minutes long and has a variety of different Rainbow Road segments accumulating into one grand Rainbow Road experience. While it isn't the most fun track in the game, I think it is beautiful, incredibly nostalgic, and has the best music out of all 30 tracks. But with all that being said, I still want Wii Rainbow Road. Look, Mario Kart World Rainbow Road, I'm really happy for you, and I'm gonna let you finish. But Wii Rainbow Road is one of the best tracks of all time. Would it fit into the new DLC island? Sure. Well, not really. But am I delusional to imagine a DLC island that has a Wii Rainbow Road smack dab in the middle of it, just like they did with the Rainbow Road track in the base game? They can even make this Rainbow Road inaccessible in free roam like that one. I don't even care. It would be the perfect ending track for the 8th and final Grand Prix in the DLC, just like how it perfectly wrapped up the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC in epic fashion. DK Mountain, my beloved. This track is so fun. It's this high octane rush from start to finish. At the start, you get blasted out of the giant barrel cannon all the way to the top of the mountain, where you can look back and see how far away the cannon is and truly feel like you've just been dropped miles away up on a mountain. But then the real fun is the ride down. I don't know why, but I find this shortcut where you can just jump this section and avoid the turn so fun to do. These giant tumbling boulders feel like they're perfectly timed just to crush your hopes and dreams, adding an extra challenge as you try to swerve around them and still make the tight turns, which are immediately followed by this awesome gap jump shortcut that is so satisfying when you line it up just right to save maximum time. And we can't forget the grand finale. That terrifying, narrow, rickety wooden bridge right before the finish line. It just provides the most epic, chaotic finishes to races on this track. The players frantically throw every shell they have and are bumping each other off that tiny strip of wood. They're desperate to cross the finish line without plummeting to their doom. I just love this track, and I just want to get shot out of that cannon one more time. Is that too much to ask? If Nintendo announced that after 22 years, the Double Dash exclusive track Wario Coliseum would be returning in Mario Kart World DLC, I would be beyond excited. As a kid, I thought this was the coolest track ever. Well, who am I kidding? Even as an adult, I still think it's the coolest track ever. I mean, it's a globe of death themed track with so many winding paths going around the cage that it feels more like a maze when you first play it. I love how challenging this track is with its tight turns, slanted paths and spirals, flaming rings, and daring jumps that all provide ample opportunity to fall off the track, which makes it so satisfying when you pull off a clean lap of driving and don't fall off the track. I think this track would transfer into Mario Kart World well. Now, it is a longer track, so they could do what they did in Double Dash and make it 2 laps, or one thing I find is that the end of the track once you exit the cage isn't quite as engaging and kind of just feels like you're just trying to return to the starting line for the next lap to start. So one idea is they could add a cannon once you exit the cage that launches you closer to the finish line, skipping the ending section and shortening each lap enough to where they could make it a 3-lap track. But however they decide to implement this track, I would just be ecstatic to see this one added to Mario Kart World with modern day graphics after all these years. Before we get to the number 1 most wanted track in the Mario Kart World DLC, I have 3 honorable mentions, beginning with this first one, Maka Woohoo. And let me be clear, even though Maka Woohoo is on the honorable mentions list, I would love to have it. It's just an honorable mention because even though Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had tracks based on other IPs, including 2 F-Zero tracks, a Zelda track, and an Animal Crossing track, I really don't think Nintendo will add these kinds of crossover tracks from other IPs to Mario Kart World because they wouldn't fit naturally into the very Mario-themed open world filled with Mario characters and art style, which is why none of those great tracks are on this list. Sadly, that goes for this awesome Wii Sports Resort themed track as well, although I feel like Maka Woohoo could potentially be blended into the style of Mario Kart World's open world better than the others, so if any of those tracks I listed made it, maybe it would be this one. But hopefully I'm completely wrong and they release a random DLC area full of tracks from other IPs. That would be so hype, but I think it's quite unlikely. This is another amazing track that would be incredible to experience in Mario Kart World. But although I could sort of justify adding Wii Rainbow Road in the DLC, I really can't justify having this added as a 3rd Rainbow Road track. Yes, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had a bunch of Rainbow Road tracks, but Mario Kart World would have to add them all to the world map somehow. So I think it really only makes sense to have 1 Rainbow Road track on this actual list. While this track is a blast filled with awesome music, lighting, and effects, the twisting anti-gravity sections go on for quite a while, and for Mario Kart World, a game that doesn't use anti-gravity like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did, I think redoing so much of this track to work around that issue is something that Nintendo just isn't going to bother with, and that is why this track, along with some others like it that incorporate lots of anti-gravity, did not make this list. And with that, let's get to the number 1 track that I want to see in the Mario Kart World DLC the most. Mount Wario is my all-time favorite Mario Kart track, and the track I most want included in the Mario Kart World DLC. Even though we are clearly racing in karts, the track makes you feel as if the game has changed into an actual snowboarding race, beginning with you diving out of a plane at the mountain summit, then encountering new environments and challenges around every turn, giving the race a true sense of progression as you explore the entire mountain all the way down to the slalom course and the big ski jump that takes you to the ski resort base where you cross the finish line. Although it's not as old as other tracks on this list, as it debuted in Mario Kart 8, it still gives me such a strong feeling of nostalgia, probably because the design of it reminds me of the iconic snowboarding games I played as a kid, like the SSX series, 1080 snowboarding, and even Snowboard Kids. There are actually areas in the current Mario Kart World map that give a similar snowboard race feel, such as this intermission track from Starview Peak to DK Pass, but if anything, that teaser just makes me want the real thing even more. Nintendo, please give us Mount Wario. So there you have it, 24 tracks that I think would make the Mario Kart World DLC a dream come true. Now I know you disagree with me on at least one of these rankings, so let me know. What track did I rank too high, too low, and what track are you begging for that didn't even make my list that I completely missed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to see another fun Mario Kart World video, try giving the video on your screen right now a click, as YouTube thinks it's the video of mine that you'd enjoy the most. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.